IMEX 2025, and with Gorazd we have a wonderful friend of ours sitting here with us, Tahira Endean. Thank you for being here and taking your time. I know you've been extremely busy.
220 sessions.
There you go. The content in the other hall is amazing, and the speakers we've had these days here on Ljubljana Talks were just, I think, beyond of what we expected. There were so many topics we covered. Of course, we'll touch on some of those also during this Ljubljana Talks. But let's go first to the big news.
Yes.
Very recently, your book, Intentional Event Design.
No.
No?
That's my first book, but we can talk about that. Let's talk about that. So
Joy.
I wrote Intentional Event Design in 2017, and then I updated it right after the pandemic. I didn't even change it because I realized it was actually a really good book. I added 8 pages of lessons from the pandemic, and it's being used to teach at NYU and SDSU.
I remember that. I remember that,
which is great. And then a follow-up book.
Okay.
Much smaller, much more storytelling, and so many Slovenia stories in our KPIs.
I know. I was honored to find myself in that book. So you see. But tell us, what is the message that you want to get across?
So our KPI is joy. The subtitle of it is how live events catalyze happiness, productivity, and trust. At the end of the day, every time you come to an event, every time you host an event, every time an organization spends hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on an event, they want people to enjoy it. Yet, we use metrics like numbers or, dollars raised, and those are important. But what's more important is how people leave your event feeling and how they feel through the narrative arc of your event. And so really the book is about how do we understand that everybody who arrives is a human. We bring all of our humanness with us. We bring all of our family at home, our work challenges, and our presence at the event. And so we need to create experiences that really make the most of that in the short time that people are together with us so that they want to return.
Here actually you're talking about joy or happiness. How joyful was your process of creating this amazing program at IMEX? That's my first question, and then I have another one.
Okay, very joyful. So I work on the program all year. And so people say, how do you know? And I listen all year to people. It's not, we don't just sit down in a month before the event and whip out some speakers. We're always talking and iterating and listening to what industry needs from us and working around different sort of thematics is how we build our tracks. And then, but it's not, the tracks are not equal. We don't need to have the same amount of experience design as we have design matters, as we have well-being, as an example. So we really just think about what do people want to learn. And what we're seeing is that every session has been packed. So clearly we are tapping into some, both excellent speakers, but also tapping into what the industry needs. So this show is the biggest it's ever been on the exhibit side. It's the most buyers we've had at any show ever in Frankfurt. And we also have the most people bums in seats at our education we've ever had. So it's great. It's having so much fun.
Congrats.
Thank you.
But what is your definition of a great speaker? What would you say? I mean, we have our own idea about it. We met with some of them, but what is something which creates sparks in your eyes, I would say?
A great speaker has a good message that they're willing to share without self-promotion, and it has to fit. I'm introduced to so many people that are truly great speakers that we don't have at IMEX because it's not the right topic at the right time. And a good example of that is we don't really have a lot of speakers who are talking about sales specifically because the people who are selling are on this side selling. So they're not going to get sales education per se. It wouldn't make any sense. So, but we also, have the range where, yesterday we had the tough talks. And so, we talked about navigating challenges, including perimenopause and how to become an adaptable, how do you become an adaptable, resilient man in a society where it's changing, right? And but people willing to just sit down and talk about those things. And we don't have it's not a number. It's not, if 2 people come and feel that they left this show with good information, then we've done the right thing. So it's part art, part science, really.
You opened a lot of taboos, I would say, this year, and that's really cool, I would say.
Yeah.
But coming back, how we can measure happiness or joy? This is my question I want to ask, because happy participants, this is what we are all looking for, and we all have some ideas, but is there any metrics or how we can touch this measurement side of the happiness or joy?
There's a lot of ways that we can measure engagement. So we can do it, scientifically. So, with groups like Zenis, who are, so we have various areas of the show where we're measuring engagement, and it can be measured at different levels. It can be measured at the level of when people are talking, how people are responding. We don't use it so much for that. We tend to use it more with our sponsor activations at this show, but we have used it also in sessions in the past. You can do live surveying. We can do, honestly, you can just look around and you can feel the buzz in the air. But one of the things to remember about joy and happiness, and particularly with conferences and education sessions, not as much as a trade show, is that you can't feel joy if you haven't known sorrow. You can't go through, if our flat line or our baseline was always joy, that's just not very practical as a human.
It's not working,
right? So it's really, we have to build in a narrative arc, right? So you have to build in, what do people feel when they enter? And, coming into somewhere, the more information that you have, the more comfortable you're going to be, the more you're going to be able to have your mind opened up to feel joy, to feel a sense of connection to other people, which is where joy comes from. As soon as you don't have a good travel experience, you don't have a good check-in, you can't find registration, anything that's going to cause anxiety.
Such thinking at the beginning of your book, I think so.
Yeah, so that was I had a terrible experience at a conference that was actually focused on well-being, which was really interesting. But it's
well-being,
right? But it's about thinking about how people are going to go through your whole experience and creating those moments that are going to offer some introspection, some connection, some, as we walk through somewhere like IMEX, anybody who's been in the industry for more than a minute, you're hugging people along the way, you're smiling at people, you're handshaking, you're introducing people to other people. Those are going to be the things that are going to be that memorable of joy. But even if we look at, you go back to the history of the history of the handshake was, you have to hold this. You hold this. You hold it this way. So when we were shaking someone's hand, we were also feeling their arm for weapons. So, so there's a lot of history that goes into how people connect. We don't do that anymore, but it's, but we do have that, you look someone in the eye, you have a conversation, and...
But there are many rituals, such as the handshake, that have a security element in them. How you pour a drink, how you behave, how you sit, how you walk, how you design steps in medieval castles, for example.
Yes.
If we talk about the events industry today, in your book, there is an example which I think I feel joy when I think of it. That's an event that we did with Site, right after the pandemic. It was a great event, and it's also described in the book, and I'm really happy because it's such a true document. It was really one of those things that you can see how much we needed that human touch.
And, I write about that particular event a lot in the book. So, with the Site Incentive Summit Europe coming to Slovenia, it took us 3 years because, we started planning it.
And it's a relatively small event if you think about it.
It's a small event, but we had to keep planning it and planning it and planning it. I changed jobs, some of the planning committee changed jobs, the leadership changed. But at the end of the day, it was still about finding what's that true, authentic sense of Slovenia. And we did that. And it wasn't all friendship and roses and, things being thrown. I mean, you took a lot of risks with that event and, showed a true Ljubljana of a social, environmental governance, and took people into risky places. We didn't have sunshine the whole time, but we had a double rainbow after a day of rain.
Exactly. I think that was kind of a telling. It started with hail, if you remember.
Yes.
We got on a bus, all of a sudden hail was, we were like, it was the end of the world for a moment. And then we got to Bled and a double rainbow appeared and we went to the island. It was really, really nice. The video is still online. It's still there, and it's actually interesting because people keep coming back remembering that event. It was very memorable. I think it was joy, with everybody to have that kind of a connection and be live and
to have deeper conversations.
Exactly.
So we did, I did a keynote and then we walked and talked, right? So we did all of it was a well-designed event, and it was, by that time I'd left, so I can't even take credit for the good design. But it was a well-designed event. We had the keynote, and then, do you remember, we all walked and talked, so now we're out in nature, we have some fresh air, small groups sat down and had coffee in the cafes, and we had important topics to consider as we were doing that.
I think you can take a lot of credit for that event. As you said, we've been preparing it for so long. It was so well prepared. It was polished. It was designed. It had all these event design elements and innovative elements, the unconferencing concepts and all that, as you were saying. Yeah. The whole experience design was unique, taking people into the town hall. It was a really memorable event. And I kind of go, I'm very proud of that event and I'm very happy we did it together. Now, if I go from that mental state just after COVID and the world opening up and everybody really being happy to see each other, and I go to today. With Gorazd, we've been doing these talk shows for quite a while now, and we kind of feel the pulse on the issues that are of relevance. Of course, you're the curator of many of the topics at IMEX, but there's one that we kind of really felt this year, and that is personal well-being, the mental health, this is such an important topic, and we think it's really relevant. How do you feel it resonated at this IMEX?
So I think it's one of the things we've really been focusing on for a long time is, again, understanding the whole human shows up. And so there's a lot of touch points through the show. So we're sitting right across from these minus 45 dB workspaces, which is a quiet workspace when somebody's like, I can't focus on my next meeting because I need to answer this email or finish this small proposal or do whatever I need to do to take a moment. So that's work related. They can go and do that. We have an incredible well-being room upstairs that has programming through the day so people can do a singing bowl meditation or some Qigong or some stretching. And it's a gorgeous experience just to take. I always go up. I've been going to our well-being rooms long before I worked at the show. Just to get a little mental, 15 minutes, you can come out as a slightly new human and be able to go back into your meetings more refreshed. Introducing the Tough Talks, which we did last year, which is very, deep mental health, closed door, Chatham House rules conversations. And those we're doing based on really the speakers that we know who are coming to us and saying, so for example, we had Karen Bollinger and Mariska Kastelu have done 3 sessions on grief. Well, they have both lost their husbands to brain cancer. They both went through a natural grieving process with that. But one of the things that they both found as leaders and as women was that there wasn't a lot of resources for how does your manager manage somebody going through grief? How do your leaders learn how to not walk around tippy toes when it's grief? And so they've done several sessions now on that. But that was, they said, here's a topic we're interested in. You said, you're both interested in this topic. Would you speak about it together? With the, mental health. Last year was mental health and suicide. This year is about resilience and adaptivity. And again, it's because we know that people's personal stories that they're willing to be vulnerable to share. We have one of our IMEX, we have a mental health first aiders program at IMEX. So we have one of our mental health first aiders is always in the room as well. So if somebody does leave, we have somebody who can make sure that they're okay if they're tough topics. And again, the metric wasn't like, how lucky am I to say I have this crazy idea to talk about this very deep subject at this large trade show and have a CEO who says, great, who's going to talk about it? And there's like never any hesitation, because we understand that we are in a very tough industry and it's full of humans. And so we need to, if we can give space to people to talk about it, we have a lot of perimenopause and menopause, because again, look around, a lot of women going through that in our industry.
70% probably, even more.
Right? And at some point if they're not already in it, they're gonna be in it. And so, and then we also have a lot of, rising talent. And so how can we help nurture them as well? And so a lot of effort also going into that space. So, but it's really important to talk about and be open to talking about those things, we think. So.
To me, Tahira, it seems like you're closing the circle of sustainability. So from environmental part, which is of course important, we are now getting into the final, I would say, let's say so, originality part of it, and that's really amazing. But how does it feel to you? What is happening with sustainable movements and everything? What was really on the top of the agenda for the last 10 years, but now suddenly it feels like it's not the topic anymore. Yeah.
So I have a lot of feelings about this topic.
Yeah.
So the first time that I wrote green meeting guidelines was with the Greater Vancouver Regional District, the Vancouver Convention Centre, MPI, at the time ISIS, now ILEA, WAM, the Association Exhibition Managers, 1995. I've sat, so I've been through two major rounds of the Event Industry Council. I've been through, sat through both of their, been on the committees through both of their massive sustainability initiatives for the industry. When they rewrote the CMP guidelines, the 9th edition, it was focused on having a core of sustainable thinking at it through every single chapter. I, contributed and reviewed most of that book, so there's work that's been going on across the industry for a long, long time. Certainly Europe and the European continent in general is well ahead of a lot of North America right now, especially on actually having guidelines that need to be met. And ESG, environmental social governance, is very, it's just has to be a core part of how we're doing business, because there's a regulation for every business. So I might be the smallest event management company on the planet, but my client, I'm hoping, is going to be a very large company, and that large company is going to have ESG submissions that they have to make, and so their events also have to meet that. So yeah, it's really important, I think, that it's that we're all thinking about, even, somebody says that, they come in here and they're like, look at all of these giant booths, like what happens? Well, most of these booths go into storage and come back in an iterative form. They're not throwing these away. So and with IMEX, it's been a core since the beginning. And, there's been, all of the exhibitors can submit and be part of the green meeting stand, I'm going to get the terminology wrong, but we do have essentially a green stand program. Sorry, Roger. But it's, it is something that we're very much on the journey with the industry and helping to support and lead the way. And the metrics are unbelievable that we have. So the reports are on the website, but it's the waste diversion.
We need to fight on. We need to fight on.
Yes.
For that. Listening to you, I can see sparks in your eyes about everything what you're saying, and since we have also a lot of younger viewers of our show, can you tell us more about your career, just to impress them a little bit, give them the idea why it's cool to work in our industry?
Well, it is cool to work in our industry.
Yeah.
We're so lucky.
Yeah.
Somebody said yesterday, we are in the business of making humans connections. Who gets to say that?
It was a beautiful example that John made.
Yes. From the gala last night and John on the train, but it is what we get to do. And so, I was a hairstylist. I loved being a hairstylist. It was the most amazing career. I wanted to do it since I was 6 years old. When I was 26, I had to have major surgery on both my arms. And at the end of those, the surgeon said, "You will never cut hair again." So I went home and I cried for 2 days. It was very bad. My then boyfriend was just like, "It's okay, you know, we'll get through this. I love you." And my literal response was like, "Does it matter?" So the good news is we got past that. And so now it's been, you know, we've been together since 1989. So it's still good.
You got through it.
We got through it. So, but I went on and I did an event management diploma. I went to work, Claire Smith with the Vancouver Convention Centre as my practicum leader. She got me involved in MPI at a very early stage in my career. And then I have worked, a lot of people go into the industry and they go on sort of one trajectory, one path. So I've worked as a PCO, so professional convention organizer. So worked on a lot of medical conferences. I know a lot about herpes and AIDS and dermatology. And from there, when I wanted to do something more creative, I started working at a DMC. And from there, I went on to an incentive agency. That was, you know, an amazing opportunity to see a lot of the world, experience a lot of the world, which is, you know, that is an incredible opportunity that we get to have. I went back to being a DMC, creative director at a DMC. One of the hardest jobs in the industry, one of the most undervalued areas, but also, you know, I got to take 140 people to a glacier for lunch by helicopter.
Extremely rewarding, yeah.
You know, you get to do amazing things as a DMC because you're so focused on showing off the best of your region. You know, and my region was Whistler to Banff. So, you know, Vancouver and like these amazing places. And you get to everywhere, you know, I mean, phenomenal. And when I left that, actually went into technology for a while. So I did spend some time with, and I was with IMEX, I've been a buyer. I built a mobile app. I've been an exhibitor. I've been a speaker. When I started here, I sort of had done everything, but I planned a technology conference for our government for British Columbia for 3 years, which we grew, tripled in size, which I think actually really laid the groundwork for showing off all of the technology we have in British Columbia, which allowed Web Summit, which is in Vancouver next week, to consider Vancouver seriously because Web
Summit is now in Vancouver,
yeah. So they'll be there.
It was confirmed not that long ago.
This is the first year, and I think they're scheduled to be there for at least 3 years. Yeah. But we really laid, I think that, you know, showed that we have quantum and we have, you know,
Vancouver is an amazing destination.
I saw atoms being split. I mean, come on, who gets to go to work and see an atom being split?
There you go.
Right, and then I worked at site as the head of events and got to do incredible, again, world travel and amazing things. And now here I am with all of the world in front of me.
It's so valuable because we do have quite a few students. So Ljubljana Talks has been incorporated into programs at some of the faculties. So because it's sometimes easier to watch, you know, the younger generation, they just like podcasts. They listen to them on the go, and these are kind of handy to give those, you know, we would say teasers.
Well, you know, I started teaching again, and but instead of being in the classroom now, it's all, you know, mostly asynchronous learning. And so I am exactly pulling in a lot of podcasts, a lot of different ways for people to learn. I can't teach somebody to be an event designer in 30 hours, but I can sure give them a lot of tools to give them an amazing base. And it's so fun to see them just absorb and to think about, wow, an event is like telling a story. You know, we can create a narrative arc, and we can touch people's senses, and we can create change for people. And oh my gosh, it's so rewarding to be teaching.
And to create an access to all of this knowledge that usually could only be found at a conference or a congress is now all out there. It's beautiful. Yeah. Before we go to the fire round questions, because our time flies, you know.
I talk a lot.
I know. But there is always more questions. But there's 2 questions I have to ask, because I knew he's going to walk up here. He does that every time that we are running over time. The first question is, where can people get your books?
Amazon. Around the world, yes.
Excellent. My second question, because we spoke about the past, let's talk about future. IMEX America.
Here we go.
What's coming?
So IMEX America, I mean, the program is honestly, it's almost already built. People are like, oh, can I submit something? I'm like, you could, but it's built. So we will be focusing on our Impact 2.0, activating the future. So keeping with our same talking point, we will be very similar tracks to what we have this time. So experience design, we'll be bringing in a community track, looking at well-being still, leadership and culture. So again, really a wide range of professional development and personal development for people will be available there.
I have so many questions here I want to ask before we go to far questions. First of all, is there something like Canadian creativity? It seems like you are like Danish guys here in Europe, you know? All the crazy stuff are coming from your country, you know, like C2 conference now. Is there something? What is the reason for that?
Clearly, it's the water. Do you know, I think anytime that you have a country that is smaller and has to fight harder to, you know, stand on a world stage, we work harder to be innovative. Exactly. It's like Slovenia,
Cool.
which is actually one of my favorite countries in the world.
Thanks a lot.
Can we make that as a quote?
Yes, absolutely. Honestly, it's Slovenia is. It fascinates me as a country because you're in an 1100-year-old castle that is so digitally forward that I got there on my funicular, and then I can see a gorgeous, you know, photo display that is so modern and so fresh. And then you go out 5 minutes away and you're in this most amazing countryside, and you know, out at Burdo and then going to Bled, and it was mind-boggling how beautiful and how clean. And can I tell the story of the Moby? So the last day that my daughter was in Slovenia with us, I took her to the airport. The one thing that wasn't working was my phone was not necessarily getting the data that I needed all the time, but that's, you know, a small detail. So I dropped my daughter off at the airport, who then as soon as I get back into town, I see that her flight has been canceled. So I need to go back and get her. And I completely overshoot the airport because I'm a little anxious and I'm in an unfamiliar country. And so I know now I've gone too far. And so I take an exit up and I see a Moby Dick pub. And I go into the parking lot. I see they have Wi-Fi. I go into the pub and a very nice young man says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I'm actually that really horrible customer that has just come in to use your Wi-Fi because," I said, "my daughter's flight has just been canceled. I know I've overshot the airport and I just want to let her know that I'm on my way." And he said, "Well, the music just went down, which means our Wi-Fi just went down." He said, "But it's okay." He said, "You're 10 minutes from the airport. It's only 2 exits back, and I'm going to hotspot you to my phone so that you can let her know you're on your way." It was so nice. Nice. But that was the kind of hospitality that we truly experienced throughout the entire stay. So, I mean, it was just a really magical experience.
Yeah, and one more. Sorry, I need to ask. I have so many questions. In designing events, does size matters?
No.
Okay. Can you elaborate this a little bit? Not too long, you know.
Fine question.
Okay. No. I give it to you. Okay. Sorry.
Basically, you said smaller, big event.
Yeah. This is a super huge event, but what if something small you organize? So what is your idea about it?
I think it doesn't matter if your event is 15 people or 15,000 people. At the end of the day, you're not going to come to IMEX and meet 15,000 people. You're going to come to an IMEX and you're going to meet the 30 to 100 to 150, which is sort of our maximum community size that we can really have within an event. And you're going to have connections with those people, and that's going to be you're going to meet serendipitously or by design the people that you should be meeting at any point in time. And we need to, as event designers, just create the opportunities where people can find those connections. So whether it's personal introductions, or whether it's meetings, or whether it's creating education spaces where people can feel comfortable asking questions and connecting.
As you can see, we're super relaxed around you, because otherwise we're more structured, I would say, or, you know, we're just overshooting here the time. So now we're going to the fire questions, and the first one is going to be easy. Fire or ice?
Fire.
Running or swimming?
Oh, running.
Okay. One more, Jan.
Apple or pineapple?
Apple.
Kira, thanks for being our guest. That was amazing, Ljubljana talk. What should I say? Stay tuned. We are coming back in a few minutes. And thanks a lot once again.
Thanks for having me.
Super cool.
We just Live at IMEX 2025 in Frankfurt. And with Gorazd, we are doing a traditional wrap-up of IMEX with two lovely guests. Of course, Karina Bauer from IMEX, the CEO of IMEX Group, and Petra Stušek, the CEO of Ljubljana Tourism. Two ladies that have become kind of a signature wrap-up of IMEX and Ljubljana Talks in this regard. Thank you very much for being with us. We've heard that this IMEX here in Frankfurt was a record-breaking IMEX in many ways. We've seen so many fascinating topics, contents, and also, I mean, the vibe here on the show floor is just fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you've achieved this year?
Yes, of course. Yeah, no, as you say, it's our biggest show floor to date in terms of our exhibitors. But I think what is more important, you're right, is the vibe of the industry, because we always say that we just represent the industry. And so it's really good to see that there are so many buyers here from so many countries with really solid business as well. And that's really the main thing that we've heard on the show floor. We have more buyers than last year, but even more meetings per buyer, and that they're coming with real solid business. That's the main thing, really. And as you said, I think there's a lot of positivity as well in the industry. This is tough times in the world, so we can't get away from that. So it's really amazing and very good to see that our industry is strong and adaptable, and maybe more adaptable than it's ever been, because we've been through so much over the last 20 years, and we know that we are strong and that we can adapt. So that's great.
We have a feeling after all these 3 days that this is a golden era of our industry. So Petra, what are your impressions about this year's IMEX?
I'm a little bit frustrated to start with because I don't have enough of time to hear everything and to talk to everyone. But the real feeling is, to my a little bit of surprise, there is a lot of optimism flying around. Like Karina said, there's a tough times, and whoever I talk to is very optimistic about the near future. Let's talk about the near future first, a little bit more than the distant future. And it's not only about the resilience; it's really this belief how this branch really helps keep the society not only sane, but moving forward, helping developing the societal angle of humanity. And this is what the events industry or meetings industry, working together with universities very strongly, is about. And meetings here are booming with optimism, because everyone wants to chip in, and that to me is a really big takeoff from this year's IMEX, and a really good news, which I'm super happy about.
I will actually continue with a question for you, Petra. When talking about trends, IMEX is a kind of lackmus about the industry. I guess everybody kind of feels what is going on, what the trends are. You are a member of the TOA and the TOA board and the council. We recently had a meeting in Ljubljana of the TOA. You were a part of that. Could you tell us a little bit what the trends are in Europe, and what is it that you see coming forward?
Yeah, I am a part of the ETOA council, and in the meeting that we just, like 2 weeks ago or so, we had in Ljubljana, we covered a lot of topics, but one of them was, again, also to my little surprise, was opening the new horizon also to me as a DMO or destination leader. We would be talking a lot about not about the meetings event segment, as more about the leisure segment from this perspective. What does the group tourism mean for destinations? Usually it's taking like when the not so good thing, in a sense of coaches coming in, not sustainable, big groups. And there was a new horizon opened. Why precisely this is sustainable? That groups are coming in with one vehicle and not 50 vehicles, that they are kept together. Yes, if they're too big, they need to make two groups of them, but it's kind of a new angle of sustainability from the tourism groups. But that can also translate to meetings industry, from the incentive perspective, for example. So yeah, these are. I mean, there is still talk about sustainability, but from a different angle, which is again good news. Yeah.
We kind of noticed that with Gorazd as well, because every time we do Ljubljana Talks, there are certain topics that kind of are there's a green or a red line between them. And this year, especially here at IMEX, we spoke a lot about personal well-being, about creating healthy environments, wellness, and just creating a better industry to be more successful, also in a form of advocacy. Karina, would you agree that this is actually, in a way, a topic that has been really present here at IMEX this year?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the topic of well-being has been growing, I think, or the understanding of it. But yes, absolutely. We see it even in the use of our spaces that we provide for well-being at the show. We've been doing that for over a decade, and usually, usually these things take a few years to gain traction. This year, our well-being room maybe has been too busy because, it needs to be quiet in there. But really, I suppose the point is that I think that people really understand that when they go to an event or when they design an event, they need to design for the whole person. If you are a person that likes to party very hard, that's great, but other people need to have downtime during the day. And this idea and the work that we have done as an industry over the past few years to really focus on how to design more inclusive events that include well-being and that include making space for people of all types to come and really be able to get the most out of the event in the way that works for them. So for some people that's a run, for others it's a 10-minute nap, for others it's looking at the food that they're eating, or maybe a mixture of all of those. I think that's really what the key is. And I think what's good is that people are doing that for themselves when they come here, but also hopefully designing more inclusively and more thoughtfully. And coming back to your point, Petra, I think that knowledge and that understanding that as an industry we can really help the world and help businesses in this time of difficulty for geopolitics or this time of potential concern and possible recessions and things like that are being talked about, that this industry, if the events are designed right, can really help all of those different sectors to drive forward their own objectives and growth. And so that's what I see as the major trend that's been developing over a number of years, but people really get it now in the industry and what it means.
On top of it, we feel that you are also myth-busting, like mental health. That's quite interesting topic. So we were surprised that there was a lot of presentations about that. You are quite brave in opening that myth. Tell us more about that. What is next, actually? What we can expect in the future,
Yeah, again, it's about ensuring that this experience for people delivers, of course, on their business. That's, the majority of people are here for business at the end of the day, but that when they're here, we're here all week, and we can also have an opportunity to have some fun and to have some learning and to share with each other in a deeper way. And maybe outside of our home and our businesses, it gives people an opportunity maybe to address topics that is more difficult for them to address with people who they're close to. So what we've been doing is tough talks, and these have been on issues like dealing with grief, for you personally, dealing with grief in the workplace, men's mental health, all sorts of different topics. We discussed the menopause as well and how workplaces are dealing with that. So topics that are really very important to people personally and gives them an opportunity to learn from others, to get some advice, and maybe for some a catalyst to do more as well with that when they get home. And we've had really good feedback on topics like that. It's unusual in an event, a business event like this. It's not for everybody, but for those people for who take part, it's very meaningful, and it can be a catalyst for change.
Absolutely agree. Petra, maybe this is a kind of, we are closing the circle of sustainability with these topics too. What is your opinion about it? This is now really a regenerative approach, as we are preaching for a long time. Yeah.
True. Definitely is kind of bringing the circle together, which was open for such a long time. I can tell you from my CEO hat, of course, I have also big bosses that are kind of, they need to pressure me, and there are more and more pressure from bottom up. Who's taking care of CEOs? Basically, no one at this point. So these are the places where we are discussing the things. I mean, in theory, you're not alone, but in practice, it really helps to shed the light on it and talk about it. So that we do have places like this to openly talk about the topics which not so long ago were not being considered as being appropriate to be related to businesses or to show vulnerability. Thank God that we are opening these themes and talk about it, up until to the run, as Karina mentioned. I was yesterday really part of it. It's not only about the energy, but my favorite photo was mine, which I took at the run, because the two gentlemen in front of me gave me pace while running with not only good mood, but they were wearing masks. And the lady in front of them was in a wheelchair. And I was like, yes, this is finally the inclusivity per se, This is amazing feeling, amazing, yeah.
It is really something that we can agree on, that IMEX is helping to break these taboos. And we had yesterday a really lovely conversation with Chiara Gallagher from Fulcher, Ireland. And they were here presenting their new strategy, and even their minister came. And she said that the process of getting this new strategy started actually about 3 years ago, when their minister went to the policy forum that is taking place each year here. You are both involved with the policy forum, of course, and this mitigation and, of course, the advocacy for the industry is extremely relevant. What would be your takes from the policy forum from this year?
I'm going to hand that to Petra, because I wasn't in the talks. I was on the show floor, so I can talk about the forum, but I'll let Petra answer first.
Okay.
My biggest take out from the forum was one sentence which really says a lot, and that is, you either create your table with the menu that suits you, or you are part of the menu and are going to be eaten by the environment. But the forum itself is really a really valuable tool from many angles. I mean, there were politicians, but also other policymakers, and the politicians were they really were participating and sharing their points of view, which is very valuable, because we don't either destinations or other policymakers do not understand their point of view, and vice versa. So it's a really valuable exchange of conversations, because how it does is there are two challenging the round tables on the podium, and then there are round tables in the floor talking among ourselves and then sharing the outcomes with everyone. So there is a lot of, the flow of information is very vivid and very good, because it's very relevant to everyone there. And to me, it was really valuable that I got to sit with one of the politicians from India and one of the policymakers from Saudi, and it got me completely new perspective, and that is what I need, to really be able to focus on where the new trends are going in our destinations, and to be able to pass the information along also to our policymakers and to our politicians.
Amazing. Well, one question I will repeat from the last session we had last year. Will AI replace trade shows like IMEX, and will AI replace destination management organizations, so that we can compare a little bit your view, during the time? So what do you think?
So I'm not sure what I said last year, but what I think and what
That's
I
the whole
probably said is no, AI won't replace our industry, and it won't replace meetings and events. I was actually on a panel yesterday with Kai Hattendorf and Reggie Agarwal from Cvent about the state of the industry, and we spoke about AI. And really, I believe what I always do with technology is that AI will change our world, but it will make what we do more effective, more efficient. I already think that younger generations in particular, and even old people like us, are coming to events for different reasons than they did 10, 20, 30 years ago. And that's driven by technology. That's driven by the fact that we can get a lot of information online. But we come to events to create relationships, to make human connections, to share and problem solve with our peers. And we want to do that in an efficient and effective way. And we come for human to human contact. And actually, technology and AI in particular will, I strongly believe, continue to drive the increasing need to be with humans face to face. And also, events are the only way, or when you are in front of someone in person, it's the only way to really develop trust, because you can't do that over a screen. In fact, with AI, that's getting harder because we don't know what's real and what isn't. So getting people together face to face, whether that's for business or leisure, I think will continue to be the pinnacle experience, and I think that will just grow. What we need to do is use AI to make our organizations more efficient, to make us as individuals are more efficient, so that we can spend more time on the design of the experiences to make sure that happens well, on that higher level thinking, rather than just the tasks. But no, my belief very strongly is that tech is always an enabler, not a replacer of events, but it replaces some administrative tasks.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm amazed with the question if it's going to replace, but why would it replace if it's only a tool? A tool cannot replace something, some big process. It can be add on, but it's like with basically everything, garbage in, garbage out. So if we are not careful what we put in, then we're going to be in trouble. But we're going to create that by ourselves. So my really strong opinion is that with the AI can really also to DMO or even tourist information centers can be a big help, because even my colleagues are sick and tired of the everyday repeating the same answers to the same questions, like where is the nearest toilet, where is this and that. That's the perfect tool for AI to cover, whereas these same people can go deeper into what the values of our destinations are, and what do we derive from it, how do we live. And that's where the especially younger generations can really find their purpose and meaning of their travel to that particular destination, and that's a win-win situation. That's basically the enabler to get them back. That's what we are strategically, all of us, working on it, for example. So I mean, AI has a lot of traps, but it has also a lot of potential to use it for good and to get rid of the repetitive tasks, even in the organizational side of DMOs or events or other organizations involved in the managing or organizing side of the business events to get rid of the repetitive tasks.
Very good. This morning we talked a lot about joy and happiness at events, how to create that, measure that. What was the most joyful moment for you, Petra and Karina, this year at IMEX?
You mean overall? Overall was really for me the yesterday's sun when running around the river, which I wouldn't experience if it hadn't been for IMEX Run. But it's hard of. Ooh, that's a really difficult question to extract only one thing, but
Tell us more.
yeah, but to catch up with for example, I mean the things that are happening outside of this area, because here our minds are more focused, very tasks oriented. But for example, all the meaningful conversations I had yesterday on the patio of Opera, that's again one of the greatest takeout for me,
Yeah, like Petra, it's hard to pick one thing. Obviously, as the organizer, always the first morning is a joy, when the show floor is pristine and then everybody is, flowing into the show. It's always, many times that you do that, whatever event you organize, that's always a joyful moment to see everybody meeting each other and being excited to be here and seeing the show floor just kind of instantly fill up and this energy starts. So that's always joyful. Really, the gala dinner last night at the Opera House was fantastic. Like you say, we had a beautiful evening outside on the terrace. That was very special. And for me, one of the most joyful things at the gala dinner is always the Academy Awards, the Paul Flackett Academy Awards, where we honor people in the industry. Sometimes we also honor those people who are more unsung heroes as well, who've been working for years in the industry, doing amazing work. What I love is that it's always a surprise for them. And it is, I always try to sit at least close to a couple of them. And it's such an amazing moment when you see their reaction, when they start to realize that maybe it's them that have won, and they're really so emotional about it. And that is, I love to see that. It's very, very special. And that always makes my evening.
Can I just add to so by the way, we're gonna watch next year Where Do You Sit? No, but I would now I forgot what I wanted to add. I wanted to add something that regarding the joy. Oh yes, I know. The word that was floating around yesterday a lot was loyalty, which is again like Ray and you, how much loyalty you put into these awards. That the people are really awarded who were loyal to the business, who are really building up, who maybe are even retired already. And that's again an important message. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, I really needed to add that.
You actually kind of, it's incredible. I think of a question and you answer it before I. So
great minds.
Exactly. But I would like to ask you one more question, and that is similar to loyalty, is stability. I think IMEX and everything you do, all the partnerships, all the activations, all of the do what you say and what you actually do, from event design, the development, the education, tackling hard topics. What is the future? Very briefly.
Well, I don't know what the future is, but all I can say is that's what's at the heart of our business. That's how we operate our business for our team and also for our clients. We try to, whatever we would do for our team, we try to do for our clients and vice versa. And so that sort of fundamental value of delivery, of transparency, trust, authenticity, of doing our best, really. I mean, I guess that's all we can do, is to do our best for the industry. But our team are very passionate about the industry. So that's probably, I think, what you feel and what you see, because they're in the industry, they're thinking, I don't know what the future is, but what I do know is we'll find the future together with the industry way, and that's what's important. And we don't get it right every time, and that's okay. We try to just share our learning for the benefit of everybody else, but also we're always trying to read widely, see what's going on in the rest of the world, and think about what the future might be for the industry so that we can bring it in early. That's really what we're trying to do, kind of that leading the way. So things like the tough talks or the menopause, I remember when we first started talking about that, some people were a little bit surprised. Now it's very normal in the general media to talk about those things. So that's what we're always trying to do, look at the landscape and bring things to the industry a little bit earlier than maybe would be here otherwise. And so I don't know what the future will be, but we'll keep doing that.
Okay, great.
Petra, what about you? What do you think about it?
What's the future? The future is that we have to get comfortable with the fact that we'll constantly be uncomfortable. That's it.
We are coming to the end. Since Yura is standing up, that means that our time is running out. Well, the last question is a very simple one. Why meetings and events in just 3 words? Both of you. Try to choose words.
Gosh, on a
It's really
Thursday
difficult, I
morning.
know. Yeah.
Why meetings and events in 3 words?
Oh, 1 word.
1 word.
Trust.
For me, is really the not only the upgrade, the development, the trying to find the right word, the right word, but working together, the meetings or events industry with the science milieu, that really brings humanity further, and that's really important. What we do here. Yeah.
And here we come to the last part, our fire questions. Left or right side of the brains? Of the brain.
Which one is which? The right is creative, left is right for me.
Thanks. Petra, books or movies?
Still books. Yeah, because it gives me more. I need to concentrate more.
Karina, running or swimming?
Running.
Petra, red wine or white wine?
Always red.
Oh, can I answer that one?
Oh,
Champagne.
very good one. Bravo.
See, for me, it's always red. Good. We're good drinking buddies in that sense.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks for being our guests. Congratulations for another amazing edition of IMEX, and all the ideas you're sharing openly with us, inclusively with us, and hope to be here again next year. Jan, and the last word is yours.
I must say that this IMEX was exceptional. As Petra said, we could keep on going. And I think that's a really beautiful message from our side as exhibitors, as partners, as simply being a part of the industry. It's very exciting. So thank you both for helping us co-create this wonderful event. Thank you.
Thank you. Great, thank you. Always a pleasure. It's always
Last edition of Ljubljana Talks here live from IMEX Frankfurt. I have amazing guest with me, Richard Barnes from Events, and he will share some great news at the beginning. So Richard, what you just shared with the audience on a press conference, can you tell us more about that?
Yes, listen, first of all, pleasure to be on the podcast, so thanks very much for having me. Hello, everybody. We've just announced the launch of a new event that we're running next year, which is called M&I Expo, and it is in Abu Dhabi in April 2026.
How big it will be? Actually, something like IMEX or?
No, it will be very different to IMEX. It's a smaller event. The event is about a concentration of quality. So the event is going to be capped at 1,000 people. It's for the MICE 1000.
So quality was always kind of your red line. You always focus on quality. Why so? This is a provocation, of course.
Listen, that's right. We started, for those who don't know us, we started 21 years ago trying to create a different type of trade show for the industry, and events which focused on the few, not the many, and events which focused on quality of delegates, and specifically quality of connections, quality of meetings, and the relevancy between the groups of buyers and suppliers that we bring to events. So that was 21 years ago. Under the M&I brand, and we're most known for doing M&I forums. We've done over 200 of them in the last 21 years, and I think have really helped to create a new format of event, and there are many other organisers who do similar events to those now, but we feel that there's something that we can bring to a larger format as well. An event which is large enough to create real global impact, large enough to give real choice to both buyers and exhibitors in terms of who they want to target and meet, but is small enough to ensure that it's about concentration of quality of people, and small enough to allow us to still curate the meetings and give people a meaningful, impactful program of connections from the very start of the event through to the end of it.
Amazing. What is a must for you when you are designing your events, and what you should avoid for sure, at any of your events? What would you say about that? What is a must?
Did you say a must? Right. A must for us is, again, we've got two different things here. So for our standard events, which are moving around to different destinations, we're always working with new partners and new destinations. So we're trying to show the market something new. Commitment from a wonderful set of host partners is an absolute must in order to showcase the MICE highlights of a destination to our audience. The other must for us is about the right balance of buyers and exhibitors, so that we get the right numbers. It starts with that. I think that larger trade shows can struggle historically for a long time, can struggle in this respect of having the right balance, enough buyers to really satisfy the requirements of the exhibitors throughout the whole event, and consistently throughout all of the exhibitors, not just the chosen few. So our events have always really focused on that balance, so that everybody gets return on investment and return on time.
We always ask also a little bit more personal questions about your career, how you started, how you came to our industry, a little bit about yourself. So can you tell us more, because we want to also influence on younger colleagues, students and so on, to join our beautiful industry. Yeah.
Well, like most people who are in the meetings industry, I started through professional golf. I presume the same is the same for you. When I was young, golf was my real love, and I wanted to be a pro golfer, and realised that I didn't quite have what it takes to be Rory McIlroy or Scotty Scheffler. But it was through golf that I started to work in tourism and starting to work in marketing for some golf resorts. And then In the year 2000, myself and my business partner launched Great Hotels of the World, which was an independent alliance for luxury hotels, and we ran that, and we used to exhibit at a number of the major trade shows in the industry. And really, I thought we can do something better here for our exhibiting partners. We'd have a stand with a lot of exhibiting partners there.
You listened a lot at that time, huh? The market needs and so on.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And we came along at the right time and place, and we had an idea, but we came at it from a hotelier's perspective and an exhibitor's perspective about how to put on an event that served their needs. So our first event was then launched in 2005.
Your events are far from boring, but why is so that we have so many boring events? There is actually, I read a few days ago that we spent 6 years on boring events. What would you say and comment on that?
Right, stop going to them. Come to
From
events.
school to
Come to events that are more exciting instead. Right, okay, so not just in terms of trade shows, but boring events from school and everything else. 6 years of our lives we spend on those. Goodness me. Right, well, listen, I think we've been on a mission to do our small part in terms of changing boring events to give a different kind of experience. It was very central to what we were doing, which was to try to create an event which was fun. Instead of we'd be at World Travel Market or ITB exhibiting at these shows on the outskirts of a northern European city in the middle of winter, and traveling across the city on a train and going from hotel to exhibition and thinking there's no joy in this.
I can visualize what you are just saying now.
Listen, I think we all can have, certainly those of us at a certain age, younger generation maybe have had it a bit luckier, although, probably it's probably still the same. Everyone's experiencing the same going to those shows. But bringing joy to the events was a big part for us, mixing the business and pleasure, making the whole thing enjoyable, the experience, as well as productive.
How big is the team behind your events?
We are almost 100. I think 95 people at the moment.
Is it difficult to get buyers nowadays or to select buyers?
Yeah, I think it's to get really high quality buyers is a challenge for sure. But buyers need our events. And buyers get an opportunity to not only meet with great exhibitors and suppliers and to know that they're going to get a good return on their time, but they're also getting the opportunity to see how a destination copes with an event of a certain size, and how the venues, how the DMCs, how the activities perform and cater. So they see it through the eyes of their clients. So I think that's really important. They need our events, and we're in an era where remote working means that it's harder and harder for exhibitors and tourism providers to go and target buyers and meet them in their home cities, because it's just a lot easier to catch them with office time. So I think that good, meaningful trade shows with purpose, trade shows with joy are important for buyers. And so we're lucky enough, I think, with our position to manage to attract good buyers to come to our events.
Do you have a bucket list of destinations?
A bucket list of destinations. Yes, we have. So we have we do a portfolio of events, and each year we will try to offer some which are in some emerging destinations and things that are changing and coming around, as well as some more regular and easier to access options as well. Some will be city centre, some will be resort. So we'll offer different events for different people, and we're always looking and interested in what the next thing is going to be.
So why Abu Dhabi then?
Abu Dhabi, I think, is the perfect. How long have we got here? Because I can talk quite a while on it.
Just go on. Just go on. Yeah.
Abu Dhabi, I think, is a wonderful natural home for M&I Expo. The big global meeting places are Vegas, Frankfurt, Barcelona, and the Gulf as a broad area. The UAE in particular, and Abu Dhabi even more so, is a country and a destination of growing importance as a global economic capital, as a global destination for business events, and for exciting change and innovation, and it is becoming ever more so. I think that over the next decade, that's going to continue to be the case, and so it's high time that a global gathering of the MICE industry is held in that destination. Wonderful venues, wonderful infrastructure, a government who are backing and are investing in in furthering innovation, and there's always change. So it's highly relevant for buyers as a country and as a region.
The position between continents and the position is perfect, actually. Yeah.
And it's a perfect global crossroads between Europe, between Asia, Africa. The transport links are wonderful getting in there. So for us, it's the perfect home. We've run a number of events in Abu Dhabi and have partnered with them. And there are so many exciting plans, and there's such a great vision about the future of tourism and business events there. So to be part of it is a natural partnering for M&I.
We are coming to the end of our discussion. As Jure is standing up, that means that we are running out of time. So I will finish with one question. The old slogan of MPI was, "When we meet, we change the world." Do you believe in that, or was it a good slogan?
Yeah, I think it was "When we meet, we change the world." Yeah, I think when we meet, we have the opportunity to change the world. And I think that we have managed to help change the way that the world meets.
Amazing. Very good. Do you have anything else to share with our audience?
Listen, come to M&I Expo in Abu Dhabi in April 2026. Hope to see you there.
And we finish with a short fire question. Beer or wine? You can elaborate this more.
Can I choose gin?
Oh, very good answer, definitely. Yeah. Train or car?
These days, train for me.
Super. Why?
Yeah.
Why so?
I've come to enjoy moments where I get to relax and concentrate on something else, and for my mind to settle. And I think train allows that. And of course, for the environmental reasons too.
Very good. Thanks, Richard, for all great insights you gave us. And stay tuned to our channel. See you soon. We are coming back at IMEX America, maybe. So, thanks a lot.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you.
Great.
That's fast. I would say.